What's going on there, guys? Good evening. It's the Earthmaster here on this Tuesday night, November 1st, 2022. Goodness, I can't believe this year is almost over. It's about 7:30 p.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 3.8 earthquake down here along the South America region. Looks like about 44 kilometers deep or so into the Peru-Chile Trench right there around the Chile area. We did see some activity kind of ramp up today. Notice the deep earthquake movement out here across the globe, including a deep earthquake out here around the Chile Trench, and some subsequent shallower, larger activity up here along the Pacific Ring of Fire. Definitely a noticeable amount of uptick here throughout the day. So let's go ahead and jump into the flat scale model Earth here and take a look at the movement. Definitely noticing a trend of activity kind of working its way westward again throughout this area of the world. There is the 5.1 earthquake into Japan, but notice we're kind of missing that deeper earthquake that was listed up here on the Earthquake 3D globe. Let me show you guys once again. We did see a 4.0, pretty deep into the, let's go ahead and see what they're saying about this earthquake real quick here. Maybe not. That is the EMSC model. So let me go back over here and see what we got. EMSC. That's going to be this 4.0 right here. Sometimes the USGS, they decide not to show these little earthquakes here, and there is a little importance on them because of the depth of this earthquake here into the region. 4.0 into the Sea of Osk out there. So technically that would put that down into the Chile Trench at almost 406, well, it is 460 kilometers deep into the area. It's a pretty deep earthquake. And again, that was followed up by a larger earthquake, but more upstream. Remember, these deeper earthquakes do tend to put much further strain onto the subduction zone levels upstream. 5.1, 9.5 kilometers deep. So got to watch this area pretty closely. We haven't really seen too much large-scale movement in that area. Okay, also, let's see what we got around Taiwan. Let's go ahead and zoom in here to the area. Looks like a 5.4. That one coming in earlier this morning. A couple of these here. Some older movement earthquakes. So I'm kind of just interested right now in the main quakes that have happened recently. That includes one here around the Mariana Trench, a 4.5 near Guam. 185 kilometers deep here into the Mariana Trench. So a little bit of deeper activity down south along the Pacific Ring of Fire here, right around the Philippine Plate. There's the 5.1. Prior to that, we had some much more, 5.1 intraplate earthquake out here into China, about 10 kilometers deep. Not a deep earthquake whatsoever, but somewhat of a moderate-sized earthquake here for the China area. Looks like prior to that, earlier this morning, we did see a 4.9 within that region. So it looks like things are trying to build back here to the area further to the west here in this region. 4.0 in this area of the world. That was actually, it looks like an older earthquake from last night. So things trying to work its way westward. A lot of pressure here into the areas. That's what kind of why we're seeing that deeper earthquake movement. Into the Tonga region, we did see a couple earthquakes throughout the day today. Also down here along the Kermadec Trench, a 4.6, 217 kilometers deep along this area of the Kermadec Trench. But these other ones up north, pretty deep. Down there below 500 kilometers, 4.5 and a 4.6 into this area. Pretty deep earthquake movement. And again, this should apply a lot of pressure upstream towards the locked areas and towards the surface areas of these deeper earthquake regions that we've seen today. Hawaii. Let's see what we got here around the Big Island. Let's see, up north, this one coming in about 4 o'clock this morning time frame. A 3.9 down there in, looks like about 11 kilometers deep below this area, northwest of Mauna Kea. Sometimes we do see some deeper earthquake movements up here associated with the Pacific Plate movement. 2.3, a little offshore here earlier this afternoon, 35 kilometers deep, so a little bit of adjustment going on well below this area. Mauna Loa, not a whole lot happening right now. We got 3 recorded earthquakes up there, but no major swarms, no major unusual activity, but still definitely keep an eye on that region. Pahala area, this is very typical. Down there about 32, 33 kilometers or so. Beneath this area, quite a few microquakes up into the Alaska region. Let's see what we got as we zoom in up here. Looks like some scattered activity throughout the region today. Nothing showing up within the last hour. Still seeing some movement around the Trident Volcano up here in Alaska. Looks like most of this was from this morning about 6 o'clock, with a couple other newer quakes throughout the area. Quite a few volcanoes in that region, but Trident Volcano has been the one that's kind of been swarming a little bit over the past couple months. No unusual activity to report around the Canada or the Alaska area. Up into the Mud Bay, Alaska region, seen a 2.1. That one was earlier this morning time frame. Into the Pacific Northwest. Let's see what we got. A little bit of activity around Mount Rainier. Kind of circling the area here. 2.0 near Ashford, Washington. We'll check out the Mount Rainier station here in a little bit as far as seismic activity goes. Northern California, not a whole lot popping off there. And of course, nothing being listed around Mount Lassen. The latest information or latest statement here. I'm kind of curious. I want to check out the seismograph station here of this area, just to be up on the latest info here. Let's see what we got. And looking over the past 24 hours, oh man, it always does it on the first click for some reason. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of activity compared to the past, I don't know, 48 hours or so. We did see quite a bit of activity ramping up here around the Mount Lassen area in terms of quake activity. And I just find it a little odd that USGS has not chimed in on that activity there at Mount Lassen. They've actually only showed a little cluster of quakes, about 13 earthquakes or so in the Mount Lassen area to the southeast of Mount Lassen, actually. And I don't know, quite a bit more. There was quite a bit more than 13 earthquakes. If you watch my previous videos, you will see what we're talking about. Just a little on the suspect side when people, or at least when organizations, government organizations tend to hide that data like that, or at least, not putting anything out, no notification or anything like that. Over the past couple hours, did have a pretty good wind event kick up here. I think they even got some snow up there on Mount Lassen. Here in the valley, we got a couple sprinkles, and that was about it. We got some colder air coming in, but had some pretty good wind events coming in to Mount Lassen earlier, and that's what we're seeing up here on the graph. But as far as seismic activity, it looks like there has been a couple small ones, but nothing, doesn't look like anything like we've seen a day or so ago in that region. All right, let's see what else we have throughout the California region. Not a whole lot going on through the Bay Area. Long Valley supervolcano, pretty quiet as well. Looks like Ridgecrest area, pretty quiet. Only a couple small microquakes. And literally, we're kind of looking at entire quiet conditions across the West Coast here. not a whole lot happening within the last hour as far as earthquake activity goes. And that can pretty much be said inland as well. Yellowstone doesn't look like we got too much activity popping up, but we will. Let's see what we got here for Yellowstone as far as the raw data goes. Of course, soon as I say that, looks like they're having a little bit more earthquake activity ramping up here within the last couple hours. Notice these specks here, these little spikes indicating earthquake activity recent. And throughout the day today, it looks like there's been a handful or so. USGS reporting at least the last earthquake. It looks like 9 o'clock this morning. But as you've seen on the graph there, things are a little bit more active than that. No major swarm, though. No unusual activity to report at Yellowstone National Park currently. Let's see what we got for Oklahoma. As we zoom in here, looks like one earthquake early. Well, looks like about 10 o'clock this morning. What is that? Lucien, Oklahoma area. If I mispronounce that, I apologize. Let me know. 1.6 at 8.8 kilometers deep. And we're going to zoom in here and see what we got out there. I know looks like some creeks out there, or cricks, however you want to pronounce it. Satellite view. This is down there about 8.8 kilometers. So look at that windmill. Actually kind of see the shadow of it right here. Pretty interesting. Looks like, yeah, it's kind of hard to tell if there's any pumping operations out here. Possibly. But it doesn't look too numerous. Let's see, outside of the Smiley, Texas area, this has been popping up quite a bit. Smiley, Texas. I may have to venture out there and see what's going on out there, because it does keep popping up. Wow, there we go. 2.9, 6.1 kilometers deep, and a field of oil pumping operations out there. And that's a lot, folks. I mean, we don't even have to zoom in to see and know what this is here on the map. I mean, that's pretty crazy to see all these operations nearby. Some type of wastewater pond out here. Quite a few oil tanks and operations in work. And literally within a couple 100 feet, we got the 2.9 earthquake striking out there below this area. Definitely not fault related. I'll tell you that. East Coast, pretty quiet. Puerto Rico, what do we got here? Latest activity looks like a 1.9 in the mix there around Puerto Rico. And latest earthquake, though, for a somewhat moderate size, is a 4.2 off the coast of Mexico, Guatemala area. Looks like it's on the Mexico side there. 78 kilometers deep for a 4.2. Some deeper movement taking place. And earlier this morning we did see a 5.0 off the coast of El Salvador, 10 kilometers deep for that earthquake. Little bit of activity ramping it up around the Caribbean plate, looks like. South America, though, not a whole lot showing up here on this map, which makes me want to go back to the EMSC model and see what we have in the area. And looks like 5.5 coming in about 6 minutes ago. Let's see if that Chile station is picking up. Yes, it is. I got a seismograph station there in Chile. I did pick up that 5-pointer. That's coming in here basically within the last few minutes. Not a very localized earthquake here to this station. In relation to this station, looks kind of distant, but because of that magnitude, it did pull it up pretty nicely. And the EMSC is right on it, 5.6. Looks like it got downgraded to a 5.3. USGS, little on the slow side again. They used to be pretty quick. I'm not even joking. These guys used to be on the ball when it came to international earthquakes. But somehow, someone in charge or whoever took over the operations, I don't know if there's, supervisor or whatever, Their preliminary earthquake data systems are very slow now. But then again, that could be in relation to making sure that they have an accurate magnitude. You know, as we've seen here on the EMSC model, it said a 5.5 coming in, right? You guys remember that banner up here? I think it's still listed up there. Let's see what we got. Felt earthquake, M5.5. But when we click on it, it goes back down to a 5.3. So the EMSC almost always puts out a notification with whatever the computer systems have, you know, as far as the preliminary earthquake parameters go, the early estimates. And then from there, they bounce around up and down and come out with a magnitude. So maybe USGS is kind of, you know, they just want to put the most accurate magnitude out after a review, which, you know, maybe that's their choice. But I kind of want to know the as soon as an earthquake hits. Either way, looks like a little bit of activity there in Chile kicking up. And prior to that, let's see what we got here. Let me zoom in just a little bit to the area. Of course, there's going to be quite a few 3s and some 2s in the region that the USGS is not showing, but I'm kind of looking for some larger magnitudes, and there's not a whole lot right now in the South America area, aside from that earthquake just coming in. All right, let's see what else we got. Tremor map tonight shows again 0 epicenters of tremor. Zip 0. Nada. I do want to check out tomorrow, or tomorrow's. Check out tomorrow's tremor. Yesterday's tremor, just to see. Maybe they're slow. Sometimes these guys report data very late. But again, this shows 0 from yesterday and today. Volcanic seismicity map. We're going to check out Mount Rainier because we did see a little bit of activity popping up there. Looks like kind of on the north flank of the volcano. Notice these earthquakes listed up here around Mount Rainier in the red circles. Nothing big, folks. Definitely nothing big. But some earthquake activity. So we are going to investigate and see what we got for the raw data here on the seismograph. And I don't normally use this station here, observation rock. Doesn't look too dependable on observing the data. But there is this graph here from throughout the day today looks pretty reasonable. It looks pretty nice as far as amplitudes go. A couple earthquakes listed up here on the map, on the graph. So with that said, it kind of looks like the ones that are being reported here is about it. Not a whole lot of other earthquake activity taking place here around Mount Rainier from the raw data currently. Solarham.net looks like a little C flare activity kicking up within the last hour or so. Looks like we had a C 2.2 coming in. Not a big solar flare, but it's a little bit of an uptick compared to the neutral conditions we've been seeing. No major changes noted to the 3-day geomagnetic forecast. That's kind of what we would watch for aurora conditions. It looks pretty calm, but you know, 39 here, the coronal hole 39 has been facing us all day long, and can't help but wonder if we got some wind stream, solar wind stream headed this way in the coming days. Right now, it doesn't look like they've adjusted any type of the forecast here, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. As far as sunspot activity goes, let's check out the latest image. And, man, not looking promising. across any of these regions. I'm not even 100% certain where that C flare came from. Let's see what we got. Very possible it could be up here on the far northeastern limb. Notice the brightness there. That's kind of what we look for when flares take place. And that sunspot is way over there. And I don't even think we can see that. Maybe this area, this little region right here, is what we're observing on that other image. So we'll watch that. But as far as these ones that are facing the Earth currently, I don't think we have any promising events in the current future as far as solar flare activity goes, which is unfortunate. Current, let's check out the current solar wind stream. Got a little, where'd that go? Little bit of the tilt here of the BZ component that could allow any solar wind to flow in, which could amplify conditions. And it kind of looks like it is currently on the aurora forecast. We're not really expecting any storming, but when we do see that BZ tilt there on the interplanetary magnetic field tip south, it does allow some wind, not the wind that we're talking about, but charged particles to flow in and create these aurora conditions there. So it looks like right now somewhat of a good chance at the higher latitudes into Canada, Greenland and Iceland area for some aurora probabilities. Watch that pretty closely if you guys are up that way. Let's see what else we got. I think that's about it, folks. Nothing major going on. Sultan Buttes. Let's see what we got down here around the Salton Sea area. I remember I was down there a couple years ago. I was trying to find this region, and it's not a nice place. That place is very hazardous when it comes to the gases, the algae and stuff that was floating in the air. When I was visiting this place, I was sick for a couple weeks following the visit down there. But I was in this area trying to find out the location, the exact location. And a lot of dirt roads out there. And I was driving a car, so it wasn't. It didn't work out all that good. But when I went through a couple small little, kind of like villages, everyone was gone. It was like deserted, and these were like government facilities. It looked like offices, like maybe forestry departments, national park services. Everyone was just gone. So it was a little weird seeing that firsthand. But far as the Sultan Buttes area, seismic activity, not a whole lot going on. This area is a pretty good, or at least this graph here is a pretty good model to watch earthquake activity down around the Brawley seismic zone, which is kind of an extensional end of the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. So, and there's a couple other ones up here. Sometimes you can access them, sometimes you can't. But the majority of the time they're supposed to be working. We can at least keep an eye on that data. As far as what's going on here, that kind of looks like earthquake activity, doesn't it? A bunch of specks popping off here. But what I find really odd is within literally probably a couple thousand feet or so on this local seismograph station, we're not seeing that. So I'm not for sure exactly what's going on locally here, where this reading is, where this seismograph station is. But I don't know. It's kind of a little weird. I may have to look into that and see what's going on with that graph. In the meantime, folks, have a good night. Stay safe out there. And definitely got some activity popping up into the South America region. Kind of looks like the USGS finally picked up on that earthquake. down there in South America. And by the way, USGS is reporting a 5.3 there in the Chile area of South America. All right, folks, have a good night. Please stay safe out there. We'll chat you guys a little bit later. Have a good night. Peace out.